Frightening variety. Washington Commanders rookie running back Brian Robinson is hospitalized this morning. He was shot multiple times during a possible robbery attempt in Washington, D.C. last night. Robinson was drafted in the 3rd round out of Alabama. He has what the team has described as non-life-threatening injuries. Police say they've identified 2 potential suspects and recovered a firearm a short distance from where the incident occurred. The head coach in Washington, of course, is Ron Rivera. He tweeted this last night, quote, "I just got done visiting with Brian. He's in good spirits. He wanted me to thank everyone for their kind words, prayers, and support. He wants his teammates to know he appreciates them all for reaching out, and he loves them all, and will be back soon doing what he does best." We will pause on that note, and we'll continue in just a moment here on Get Up. You would live. Just incredibly, Tom Brady has been voted the #1 player in the NFL by his peers. It is the 4th time he has topped the NFL Network's top 100 players list, again, as voted on by all the other players. He led the league in passing yards and touchdowns last year. Meanwhile, as you know, he had that 11-day absence from camp. Then he came back over the weekend, and he did play in the preseason game against the Colts on Saturday. A little rust early, maybe, Dan, as he overshoots Mike Evans here.
Yeah, 3rd down. It's a little bit of a timing route, man coverage, kind of that back shoulder go route, maybe a stop. It's just high and hot outside of Mike Evans' reach.
There's a 3rd down and long. Here he goes short of the sticks to Cameron Brate.
It's the right throw. Coverage is deep. It's another 3rd and long. Make sure you get underneath, see if you can break a tackle.
And then why not go for it on 4th down? Preseason gets it done there. Tyler Johnson.
Yeah. Watch how quickly the ball comes out right before the big hit right there to Tyler Johnson. Puts it on his body to protect him.
A few plays later, here's a question. How big a part of this offense is Julio Jones going to be?
He's going to need to be a huge part, especially because Chris Godwin coming off of the ACL surgery. I love the fact that Tom shows off the arm strength to push the ball not only downfield, but outside. If Julio can get 40 to 50 catches, handful of touchdowns, that's a huge benefit for this offense.
This is a 3rd and 6 where he goes short to Brady again. Brady would finish 6 of 8, 44 yards. But even after he was done for the night, things got worse for him. Robert Hainsey gets hurt here.
I mean, this is just a bad nightmare that keeps reoccurring for this football team. Their starting center, Ryan Jensen's obviously out for a chunk. Hainsey's the backup that's supposed to be replacing him. He gets hurt.
And in case you missed it, this was Brady after the game.
It's all personal. You know, everyone's got different situations they're dealing with, so we all have really unique challenges to our life. And, you know, I'm 45 years old, man. There's a lot of going on, so, you know, you just got to try to figure out life the best you can, and it's a continuous process, so I'm ready to go.
I had a lot of people comment to me, and I'm sure you had the same thought on just how challenged he looks right now. And look, we don't know what's going on in his life away from the field. We know what there are all these rumors out there, and none of them are our business to address. But what I think is reasonable is to just address what he said, that he's got a lot going on in his life, and a lot has happened to him in this calendar year.
And I think it's fair to assess the way he looks and the way he sounds after a long break from training camp and coming back. I don't break down game film, but I've been to a lot of press conferences. Like, that didn't look like or sound like Tom Brady in a preseason press conference. There's something going on, obviously, in his life. He admits as much. It's clearly weighing on him. If this were any other player in any sport ever, I would be like, oh, man, this guy's not going to be okay for the season. Obviously, his head's not in it. But the fact that it's Tom Brady, like, that, for me, gives it at least a little bit benefit of the doubt, thinking he might be able to compartmentalize. But there's something that wasn't there before that he's dealing with and has to overcome.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with turmoil both off and on the field. And, you know, again, we don't know what the off the field stuff is, but it seems like there's something. And then on the field, there's turmoil with all the injuries. Like I said this morning, when was the last time we heard good news coming out of Tampa Bay when it was related to Tom? Like, oh, you retire, unretire, retire. Then your head coach leaves and your offensive line, two guys interior-wise, they go away. One retire, one go to free agency. Then you lose your starting center. Then you lose your backup guard. Then you lose your backup center. I mean, it's been nothing but a stretch of bad news.
Not true. Not true at all. They got better at head coach. Todd Bowles is a better head coach than Bruce Arians. They lost 32 players last year on defense. This is going to be a top 5 defense. And when you look at their offensive line, it's actually not as bad as you think. They have 2 good tackles, Donovan Smith and Tristan Wirfs. They got Shaq Mason, and they have a 2nd and 3rd round pick. So it's not ideal, but they are going to be fine on offense. They're going to get Chris Godwin back. They're going to get Gronk back. This offense will be rolling by mid-season.
You're out of your absolute mind, dude. There is no way that you can tell me you think this offensive line is going to be fine. Look at their first 9 games.
So Dan, for 20 years I compete against Tom. The whole idea with him was we wanted him to make a decision post-snap. He beat you with his mind. He will get rid of the ball quickly. He will make up for the deficits at center and at left guard.
All right, so in their first 9 games, if this was last year's season, I would tell you they would have an advantage in their offensive line 9 out of 9 games. You tell me what games that you can honestly sit here and tell me that they have an advantage with their offensive line in their first 9 games.
But that's part of his greatness. He will make up for the deficiencies.
Dude, no.
He will get rid of the ball.
See, that's the thing,
Okay,
right?
get rid of the ball to Mike Evans and Julio Jones, and they're going to become yards after catch cats?
And Leonard Fournette, who had 69 catches a year ago.
Come on. Go ahead, Danny.
That's the thing. When you talk to people there, like it's like when Brady's in the building, everything feels great. Like he does overcome. But if he's not all the way right, like if he's carrying something with him from off the field onto the field, like that has to change. Like I don't understand how you can just sort of completely shut out the stuff he's talking about, whatever it is, and go to work like nothing's going on. And if he's not 100% all in, I mean, you know, guys who played in the league, I would put it to you guys, like, if your mind's not 100% in it, you're not in a position to succeed,
well,
right?
the one thing that I've been told over the many years, again, that I've been covering this stuff, and I wasn't in it personally the way you were, is that within those lines is the haven. Like, that's where you go to get away from whatever else is going on. But he's got problems to deal with there as well. And look, I appreciate the confidence that you're saying you have in Todd Bowles. But the reality is the reality. Bruce Arians won the Super Bowl as a head coach 2 years ago, and Todd Bowles didn't make the playoffs while he was the head coach of the Jets. Now, that doesn't mean he can't have a terrific second act in the way that Belichick did, and I know that you're projecting that. But I don't think we can sit here comfortably right now and say Todd Bowles is going to be a better coach. There is a lot on Brady's shoulders, both in terms of his ability to play and the leadership he has to bring to the equation. And I agree with Graziano. If there's stuff going on where he's just can't be all in the way that we're accustomed to, then I think that is a real problem for this team.
Greedy, here's why I see it differently. Todd Bowles is going to manage this team differently than Bruce Arians. They have a great defense, not a good defense. They will turn the ball over less. They will rely on Fournette early. Maybe it's Cam Brake, maybe it's Julio Jones. So Tom Brady may not be the Tom Brady that we all know, but this team will still win a lot of games.
So then, Danny, let me ask you a question, and I'm sort of cheating because I saw your notes over the weekend, so I kind of know where you're going to go. Right now, would you be willing to bet everything you have that this team wins their division this year?
No. But I've felt that way since March or April. I've said that New Orleans Saints are going to be a problem because how great their defense is, the offensive line.
Mr. Offensive Line, Trevor Penning just got hurt. So what are we going to do about that?
They still have 4 dudes on their offensive line that are bona fide studs.
As a quarterback, I thought the tackle position was important.
I think the guard is a bigger deal in the NFL nowadays than tackle, personally. But
to the point, is we're talking about Brady where the Super Bowl is the standard.
The expectations.
And you're saying that the division to you is not even a lot.
No. I think you, by respect, place them as the favorite, but it's a 50.5 to 49.5 type of thing for me. I think Carolina is going to be a little bit of an issue in that division as well. So I also think this, because I think your point of the haven for players is fair, but that's because most players are relatively young. You know, most of us, our haven is, we're 28 years old. Like when I heard this said, like when you got little kids, there's little problems. When you got big kids, there's bigger problems. You know, the reality of the age becoming a thing is, I don't know how much of a haven it is when life becomes a little bit more real at his age as well.
And the other thing is, no matter how much of a haven it is, one thing that defines Tom Brady in his career is preparation. To your point, Mike, right? He beats you before the snap. His preparation time is being affected.
Sure.
He missed a week and a half of training camp. I mean, it's not enough.
Greeny, I'll say this. I think 3 weeks ago I said, if they're going to get back to the NFC title, he's probably going to have the greatest career of his career performance-wise.
Not true. They have a great defense. And the game will be controlled differently than it's been in the past.
Let's see. They start with some very interesting games. We'll talk more about this as we go. I could keep doing this now, but right now, and Olaski will appreciate this.